Hello, welcome to the Hot Seat. I'm Martin Rogers. I'm here with Professor Martin Lodge of the Government Department to talk about the recent election in Germany. Welcome, Martin.
Hello.
Can you tell us first about the coalition?
Well, the coalition formation will take some time. It can take up to 2-3 months. The likely coalition is going to be CDU, CSU and a Social Democratic coalition. However, the Social Democrats are unlikely to easily enter the coalition because they suffered badly last time around. I do not see the likelihood of a black-green coalition between CDU and Greens as very high. The Greens are not compatible with the right wing of the CDU.
And why was it that the CDU did so well?
Angela Merkel played a fantastic electoral card. She basically runs a social democratic government, which basically means that none of the parties can really attack her. And therefore, basically, she occupies the center ground marvelously. At the same time, there was the CDU voters saw no reason why they should support the Liberal Party anymore because they thought they were not helping a CDU program anymore.
So why was it that the oppositions did so badly? I mean, you touched on the centre ground, but more widely, why did they fall so short?
I mean, the SPD is still, I think, undecided about what to do with its election program. It still has not come to terms with the Schröder years. It is still split between a sort of more left-wing side, which is very concerned about the left-wing splinter party, and sort of, let's call it, a more pragmatic part. And they never really established a policy program which showed that they were an alternative. The Green Party did extremely well until a few months before the federal election. However, their policy proposals of higher taxation and then the great idea to have a veggie day as an obligation was also not particularly helpful. They were also destroyed by not destroyed, but their vote was reduced by a sustained campaign, especially from the right-wing press, about accusations about paedophilia of their candidates in the 70s.
So moving on to the Liberals, what happened to them, former coalition partner, and also to the AfD, the Eurosceptic party?
Well, the FDP suffered. I mean, last election 4 years ago, they did extremely well, largely by borrowing or getting CDU voters to vote for them in order to end the Grand Coalition. After 4 years in which the Liberals did not really show any competence, they showed themselves largely to be a party for special clienteles and such like. They basically kind of lost all form of popularity. They didn't establish themselves as a credible party. So in that sense, one will have to see whether they will ever get back into federal parliaments in the first place, although they are still represented in some of the land parliaments. The AfD's Alternative für Deutschland was a kind of a new formation. It was driven by an anti-sort of Euro kind of program, or a kind of program which says that Germany should not bail out kind of other countries. They got quite a lot of votes, 4.7%, most of them from former FDP voters, but they also tapped into a populist sort of anti-politics establishment. So the second largest contingent of their voters actually came from the former Communist Party. So in that sense, the AfD is both a Eurosceptic party in the sense of sort of so-called professors who are sort of very skeptical about intervention and the euro per se, as well as an anti-European populist kind of agenda.
So moving on to Europe more widely, what are the implications of this election going to be for the EU, bailouts, Europe widely?
I mean, it will be interesting to see. I think in principle nothing much will change. The SPD is not really fundamentally different to the CDU position on basically bailouts, and on austerity drive, or on a transfer union. There will be possibly some changes in terms of possibly being a slightly more pro-transfer, but domestically any German government is constrained by the Constitutional Court. It is constrained by public opinion. So in principle nothing much will change. Instead, what I suspect is there will be sort of a reawakening of a sort of British-German agenda about institutional reform in the EU, curtailing the European Parliament and the powers of the European Commission. But in terms of transfer union and so on, I do not foresee many changes.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin Lodge. You're off the hot seat.